This is our 1970 Volkswagen Westfalia pop-top camper that we plan on turning into the ultimate vintage camper van. But before then, we have a ton of work from the front to the back that needs done. And this week, we're diving straight onto the interior. We got this thing for practically free, so we're gonna try and keep the budget build mentality through the entire thing and see what we can get done for as cheap as possible. Now, that doesn't mean using super cheap materials, that just means doing it in a cost-effective manner. So let's get into building a budget camper van from a 55-year-old Volkswagen. We're gonna hop straight into the interior because honestly, that's gonna be one of the more satisfying things. Plus, I wanna know what's going on under this flooring. If there's major rust down there, we're gonna need to repair it, and that's gonna have to be one of the first things we need to do. So we're gonna pull everything out of the interior of this thing. The back seats, the cabinets, all of it, strip the floor down, and get this thing completely emptied out and ready to have like an idea of what we're gonna do with it. I wanna keep as much of this original cabinetry as possible, but also, if we pull it out and it's falling apart, I'm not opposed to making something else that suits this space. So let's dive in and figure out exactly what we're working with. All right. These cabinets attach through the back of the cab area. So I'm gonna have to pull these front seats out and assess how to unbolt them. Oh, cool, cool. Hey, Wild Side, Albuquerque, 1079, The Edge. So there's one here. Is there one on the other side? I don't know, we'll assess. Okay, wow, that just moves now. Oh, we need a Phillips. These two are screwed to each other with normal, like, house deck screws. I don't know. This might suck to get out of here. It kind of did. And it is kind of falling apart. Because it probably would have helped to take the parts out of it. But, look at that, out of there. Holy cow, wow. That's a lot of room. Oh. Don't think this one has a single thing connected to anything. Rolling papers. Oh. Oh. I'll give you a guess. How did we not know that was in there? I thought that was a table until I moved it and I saw what it was in. Ugh. Gross. The table.
It has a very specific angle to come out.
This is cool.
I wonder if that's what the bolt was for.
All right. Next, we're gonna get these seats out of here. They're already like half unbolted. I just need to assess, or are they all the way unbolted? I don't know. Here, let's take the things I don't want broken out, and then we'll go from there. Three whole screws holding this whole back seat in right now. Not bolts, screws. I don't know how we're gonna get this out. Okay. Okay. Now sideways out the door. Cool, so it does get removed. Wow, there is so much room back here. So, what do you think? Batteries under the rear seat?
I think so.
Solar battery under the rear seat, that makes sense. Yeah. Like in this side too. I think that the solar battery is gonna be able to fit in front of this wheel arch on this side, which would be cool. So? Ooh, what do you think this seat is? Busta Rhymes, when disaster strikes. Busta Rhymes.
I love that.
That's right. You bustin'. the rhymes. Let's see. Yeah. Do you know I fell? Ow. Yeah. I think that's the factory receipts. I guess we could go over this again. I'm not like opposed.
It's not in bad shape.
No, it's not rotten or anything. I want to like wire wheel up any rust and repaint it.
Okay.
Like specifically like there and the other seat brackets. It's pretty rough. Just wire wheel it, get it cleaned up, paint it. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just trying to make it not get any worse. We'll assess real quick, figure out what we're gonna do, and then start cleaning this floor up. But first, we need to take a little break to talk about today's video sponsor, Renogy. Renogy is an off-grid power solution company that sent out their 300 amp hour core mini battery that is going to be powering the Westie and doing more than its fair share of work. This is a lithium-based battery that has got a huge amount of power for its small size. Compared to a lead acid, this is 31% smaller and over 50% lighter, meaning you're gonna have less weight to tote around, you're gonna have more power, and it's all gonna be in a smaller package. That means we're gonna be able to stuff this thing wherever we need in the Westie, which is gonna make packaging our power a ton easier. We have a ton of electronics going into this thing, including a full electric cooktop, a heater, and more. So we're gonna need a bunch of power to support that. And the lithium-based 300 amp hours coming out of this thing is going to be more than enough. I think this thing is going to be perfect for our needs, especially since we want to go camping in cold and warm weather. This thing has cold weather protection, meaning if it gets really cold before the battery freezes or damages itself, it'll actually put itself into a protection mode and make sure it stays safe. Nothing worse than waking up on a cold morning to a dead battery and no way to fix it. Not only that, but this thing is built to last. It has got a super durable coating and is actually marine rated. So if you've got a sailboat or something like that, Renogy is good for you. And it's got a 5,000 cycle, 10-year lifespan. So this is gonna be something you buy once and have for years to come. It's gonna fulfill all your needs for the foreseeable future. To grab some Renogy products of your own for any of your solar or off-grid needs, head over to Renogy.com or the link in the description and get yourself some Renogy products. They have a lot more than just batteries. They've got inverters, DC to DC converters, and pretty much anything power solution off-grid you can think of. So thank you again, Renogy, for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back to building the interior because we have a ton of work to do. This is gross. We spent the better part of 2 days researching, thinking, talking, and planning what we're gonna do for the interior of the Westie, and we're making a couple pretty big changes that ultimately made the decision for us that we're no longer gonna be keeping the entire original interior. I know I said I wanted to in the last video, and I really would love to, but it just doesn't make sense for the direction we want to go with this build. There's a few different reasons for that, mainly just having gas in the cab. We don't want the fire hazard, we don't want the gas hazard, and it takes up a ton of space that could be used for storage, kitchen materials, or just, you know, other things. We're going to be going full electric on the cooktop, and the way that the original Westie was designed, the cooktop and sink are one unit, which means we're going to need to replace the cooktop and sink. And if we're doing that, it doesn't make sense to cut up the original interior to take the cooktop and sink from that and use it in here. We're going to buy completely new, and it's going to be awesome. I'm really excited. And well, that means the next thing we got to do is start building cabinets. I'm actually going to be building them out of 3/4 inch square stock steel. I know a lot of people build out of wood, and it makes sense. I've built cabinets out of wood in the past, and I really wouldn't mind doing it. There's a few different reasons that are making me build it out of steel, and the main one is cost. For the same price as one sheet of 3/4 inch plywood that I would want to use to build the base of these cabinets, I got 3 24-foot sticks of 3/4 inch square stock that's going to be more than strong enough to do what we need to do. That's going to be more than enough material to build the entire structure of this, and then we'll just need to buy one face of plywood that will be used for the drawer faces and the cabinet faces and everything else we need. I think it's going to turn out awesome, and I'm really excited. So we got to get going because, well, as you can see, we've got a haphazard floor plan laid out with a cooktop, a sink, and a countertop that comes over and 45s out to give us a little bit more entry room. Let's get started. We've got the base to our cabinets, or I guess the beginning of frames to our cabinets. I did a top and a bottom. I've got them laid out here. They look pretty good. The main difference is the bottom is going to be 1.25 inches longer, and that is because this wall here that the back of the seats mount to has this 1.25 inch lip. So up here, we really couldn't do much about that. I was debating cutting this whole back out, but that's probably not a good idea. There's probably structural value to that or something. I don't know. But I do know that I'm leaving it there. This top one is going to actually come right above this and bolt to these existing bolt holes with some tabs I have off of it, helping to secure the countertops into the vehicle. I'm going to go ahead, start tacking these together, get them all tacked out, and then we can start getting some legs in here. And before you know it, we're going to have an idea of exactly what these cabinets are going to look like. Now that we got the structure of these cabinets in and it's feeling really solid, we got to get some material. So I jumped over to Home Depot, we got some plywood, and we're going to get ready to build the cabinet faces, as well as some dividers and some shelves. I wanted to say drawers. I was planning on doing drawers, but we decided to go with shelves. We're trying to do a budget build. We can always update to drawers later, but right now, drawer slides are like 20 bucks a pair, and shelves I can build for like, I don't know, $1 a piece. So we're gonna get into building this thing. I got some plywood for the face of this thing that is nicer cabinet grade plywood, and we're gonna be using that and also using that for the cabinet doors. We went ahead and ordered a stovetop and a sink, so within about a week we should have this entire kitchen wrapped up. The leap and hope. It came out pretty good. A little splintering, but that's going to be on the inside. This is the not finished side. Now let's go fit it up and start cutting it down to the contour of the side of a van. This is crazy! Woohoo! Put tape on here so that when I'm running the skill saw over, the table of the skill saw isn't scratching up. This is the face of the cabinets. It's going to get sanded down. You're not going to see like this green and stuff. But this is going to be finished wood, so I'm trying to treat it nice and not beat it up too bad. I mean, yeah, I might run the pencil down it one more time, get me a little bit cleaner of a line, but I'm stoked. Look, now we got like cabinet looking cabinets. I think if this makes sense on the other two, I just gotta trace it and build 2 more. Sweet. Then I'll have dividers. With the base to the cabinets in, I got some dividers in here so I could better visualize the space, and it's really starting to come together. With all the dividers in, you can see a better representation of what we're going for. We're gonna have the stove under there with the water going across to the sink. The water storage is in that one because it's the smallest one and the water still fits, even the fatter little 6-gallon jugs. And then this will be all storage, that will be all storage. I've got a ton of material cut so that we can start getting shelves in here. I was gonna go with drawers, but it's just gonna be a lot more cost effective and speedy to get shelves in here. So I'm gonna need to get all this cleaned up and installed, but first I'm gonna start kind of laying things out. For this one, I'm either gonna do nothing up top or one small storage shelf, possibly a drawer, not exactly sure, but there's not gonna be much here because the stove is gonna come down about 3 inches, and then the tall water jugs come up about 21 inches, and so we only left with about 3.5 inches of space for storage. This is going to have the sink. The sink is 6 inches, assuming that the top of the sink is sitting at 1.5 inches above this, like it should with the countertop. we're gonna have, give or take, 4 inches of sink below that and a drain. So we're not gonna be able to do anything above about here. It is what it is, we'll figure that out. And then the remaining space, we're gonna have one big storage down low and then 2 smaller shelves above that. So we're gonna need 2 shelves built in here. And then this one, we're gonna divide into 3 even portions. That's gonna be all our storage for up here. And then the next thing we're doing is storage here. These shelves are gonna be accessible from the outside. So we're gonna be doing shelves in here. We're dividing this one into 3 even spots as well. So I'm gonna get all of this cleaned up and tacked in place for all of our shelving. And then we'll start cutting some plywood to get all the shelving in place. And finally, we'll be able to start working on the cabinet face to get it looking good. But I wanna make sure it completely functions before we're too worried about aesthetics. So now we just gotta clean up 24 feet of metal and get it ready to tack weld into here. So without further ado, let's see if we can do this. Let's get her done. Look at that. We got everything all cleaned up. Now we just got to get all of our mount points cleaned up, which means I got to get them laid out, then cleaned up, then re-laid out. So I'm going to pull this thing out. I know exactly what I want to do with it, and since the whole thing's removable, I'm going to pull the plywood dividers out, remove the metal frame, and we'll be able to sweep up and weld it all out on the ground. Not much to it, but to do it, let's get to work. After I got all of the shelves welded in place, I went ahead, cut some wood. The center dividers were already there. I just cut the shelves. It really is starting to feel like an actual kitchen cabinet space. This is awesome. We need to get a countertop still. I am on the scouring of Marketplace to find a good countertop. After we get a countertop in, we've got a stovetop coming in tomorrow. The kitchen sink should be coming in early next week. I'm really excited about that. But we've got a ton of work to do before then anyway. Plus, I want to start focusing on this rear seating area. We're going to have a ton of power down there. I'm really excited to get our Renogy battery mounted under the seat and ready to go. That thing is going to be the core of how we're actually going to be able to power our fridge and electric cooktop and everything else we're going to be doing on this thing. So I'm freaking stoked. Working on getting these cabinet faces cut out. So I went ahead and marked all of the openings. We're gonna have 2 big doors, and then over here, a smaller door, and then a little drawer slash fold out storage up here. And that's just gonna be for small stuff for the kitchen that we don't want to have in a shelf. I've got all of the cabinet doors cut, and now it's time to start attaching things. And one of the good things about the way I built this is I can pull just the face out and attach all of the doors to the face, and then install the whole thing as a unit after the fact. So I went ahead, cleaned up, got the workbench ready, and we're gonna do all of the work we need to on the workbench. Got the faceplate out and working on getting the doors installed. This is the first door, and I went ahead and used a Forsner drill bit, which is a special low pro drill bit for getting big holes. So we can get a pocket for this hinge, and we've got both pockets. They've got to be practically touching the edge of the door. We got that settled in here. So now I've got to place it in the hole with the proper reveal. I've got tiny little tick marks here at 1/2 inch because we're gonna have 1/2 inch of reveal all the way around. And this is hopefully gonna give us everything we need. That's my goal anyway. So I'm gonna put this in place. I have the bottom open so I can get underneath and mark where the hinge is going to be. So I'm going to mark both sides and then also mark a hole in the center so I can do a pilot drill bit. And then hopefully this will be the first door installed. Then we just got to do it 2 more times, and we've got one little drawer or pop out, not sure which it's going to be yet, that's going to go up there. All in all though, this is coming together and I'm really excited to get this thing complete. I got all of the doors hung, and now it's time to start getting things looking a little bit better. We could just leave stuff square with a sharp edge on it, but got a router here because I want to give everything just a slight round over on the face. Nothing super dramatic, just enough to break any sharp edges, avoid splinters and stuff like that. And I'm going to do that on all of the cabinets. I think I'm going to do it inside and out. I think it'll be fine on the inside. It also gives you just a little bit of a lip to grab because I don't want to do handles on this because they'll catch clothing and just be a general pain. I want this to be as smooth of a face as possible. Here's my test piece. It's really not much of a profile on here, but it is just enough to make it look a little more professional. We'll see how we like it. I also have a consideration to put a little pocket, like an actual pocket in this to make it easier to open. We'll see how we feel about this. I'd say that's a decent profile. I like it a bit. Hit it with some 220, get her sanded down. This is the face. Bam, this will be beautiful. I'm honestly really excited about this. Now to do the same thing. We did it. All the edges are rounded off, and it's time to move on to the other two. This is really just a tedious, kind of boring process, but we got to get it done. It's going to pay off in the end because it's going to make it feel a ton nicer and also just look a ton nicer. I'm starting to figure out mounting for the cabinet face to the metal cabinet frame, and I'm going a little unconventional. I'm actually using hardware, like bolting the cabinet face on, but I think it's going to look pretty good. So I went ahead and riv nut every single one of these uprights in 2 places all the way down. And then I've got these flathead bolts with Allens that are going to actually inset. You can see this one, I already started to tighten down a little bit. It's going to inset. They'll end up sitting flush. We're going with a pretty dark stain on the face, and I think it's going to look really good. Well, that's what I'm hoping anyway. So I'm going to finish up getting these all set up. We've got 3 more holes I just punched all the way through that are set up. Everything's going to be lined up too, so it should look proper. It's going to give it the kind of rustic vibe. I don't know. I think it'll look great. We're going to find out though. So I'm going to get the last ones inset, and we should be able to bolt this thing on, put the cabinets on, and start getting the countertop cut. This is going to be a kitchen in no time. It's been a minute since I've done woodwork like this. It's been a long minute since I've done woodwork like this, but it's always rewarding when you get things together and they work. So hopefully it works, because it's always kind of sad if you get it together and it doesn't work. Honestly, not too shabby. We still need to do a couple things. There will be this here-ish, but yeah. I'm stoked. I think that looks so much better than the falling apart 1970s particle board with fake wood on it. And we're not even done yet. Here's our countertop. Well, what we're going to be using for a countertop, it's called a project panel, but it's the right size, and this was $40. The cheapest butcher block countertop in the size we were looking for was going to be nearly $200. I tried to get some used on Marketplace, couldn't find anything local or that made sense. And when I did the math on how much weight a stone countertop would be, even with all my cutouts and the smallest dimensions that I wanted for a countertop, it was going to be over 60 pounds. This is like 20 pounds as a full board. So I'm going to get this thing cut to rough shape right now. When I say that, I mean there's going to be no angle for the counter or anything. We're going to try and get it cut to length, and then I'm going to start contouring it to the back side of the counter so that everything sits perfect against the van. And after that, we'll start figuring out the angle and how we want to cut that. I want that to be last because it's actually going to be the easy part, believe it or not. We're trying to make this look as good as possible. So we don't want any imperfections or cracks in this thing. And on this side, there's a little bit of gnawing all the way across at about 3 inches. So we're going to end up cutting about 3.5 inches off of this side, which leaves us with about a little under 9 inches to cut off of this side, which is good because there's a crack that goes all the way through right here, and it goes back about 8 inches. So we're going to be able to cut this entire crack out and cut most of those imperfections out. And that's before we're even cutting it to size. And that leaves us with a nice, almost perfect finish for the top, which is gonna be really, it's just gonna be nice. It's gonna pay off in the end to think forward. That's that crack I was talking about. Woo! Countertop. That's cray cray. I'm glad we went 1.5 inches, or 3/4 instead of 1.5 inches. We'd have went up into the window, and we need every square millimeter of window space we can get, and headroom, which is why I can't wait to get this thing back outside. Now the real question is, will the door shut without hitting the countertop? Ow, my shoulder. No. We need just a little bit of masseusin. A little bit of grindering. A little masseusin, I said. I genuinely thought it was gonna be like a bzz bzz, done. Ooh, we're getting close. That one didn't move the counter near as much. Got the countertop flipped over. This is the underside. I went ahead and traced a 12-inch circle because that's the size of our sink. And what we're gonna need to inset there, I might need to notch out the back just a little bit to be able to get the faucet to fit in, but I'm not really too worried about that right now. I can do that later. And then I've got over here traced out the cooktop. So we're gonna be insetting the cooktop into this countertop, and I've got everything measured out to center it in the space we've got. Both of them are just gonna be centered. I think it'll look great. It's counter, it's cabinets, it's like, it's looking like a thing. Moment of truth. Gorgeous. It looks so professional. Washing my hands, cooking dinner. It says not to put this near combustible stuff, and I think this is combustible, so we'll have to see how hot it gets and if it starts like charring the wood. If it does, I'll cut this hole like an extra inch bigger and do a whole aluminum inset to hopefully help dissipate the heat. But with an induction top, it cannot be magnetic. We have water pretty aggressively boiling after like 2-3 minutes in this thing. Induction is so cool. I'm touching the cooktop and it's not hot, like an inch away from the pan. Crazy. I know there's gonna be heat transfer. What I wanna do is I wanna run this thing for 20 or 30 minutes and at least 10 to 20 minutes and see how it feels in terms of heat on the countertop. It says to keep away from combustibles, but also in a camper van, we're not gonna be cooking 2-3 hours on the stovetop, ever. That's not the plan. We're gonna be making dinner, getting that stuff done, and calling it a day. So as long as it doesn't get hot in 20 or 30 minutes of cooking, I think we'll be more than okay, and we're not gonna have any issues with it catching anything on fire, let alone scorching the wood or anything like that. This is awesome! Nothing feels bad at all. Everything feels great. We got a sink in here. We got a cooktop. When everything's flat, this just looks super... We're not gonna have a ton of obstructions. This is great. I'm really stoked with this. Now, well, this is boiling. We're gonna get the seat ready to put in here because the next big thing is finally getting the Renogy battery in this thing, which is awesome. Again, the Renogy battery is going to be the reason we're able to put such a cool cooktop in, is how much power we're gonna have on board. It has been 25 minutes that we've been boiling this water. It's almost completely boiled the entire pot of water down. I can touch the wood all the way around underneath, which is great. That means that the wood itself isn't getting too hot. The cooktop itself can touch all the way around. I can touch literally to almost the pan. This is starting to get warm, and I'm an inch away from the pan. The pan was sitting there a second ago. I am so stoked with this. The instructions said not to put it near combustibles. I really don't think we're gonna have an issue. I don't think we're ever gonna cook for more than 20, 25 minutes in here. And if we do, it's not gonna be on high heat. And this thing has been on high to medium high the entire time. And quite literally, we boiled all the water out of this pan. So I'm stoked. This thing was full pan. We boiled all the water out and don't have any heat issues. I might pull this thing out real quick and just feel the countertop one last time just to be double sure. But I'm a lot more confident now than I was 20 minutes ago. And over here, we got everything ready to start setting the seat back in and start figuring out our battery setup. I think I've got an idea where everything's gonna go, but we're gonna have to test fit to find out. All right, now that we've got the kitchen somewhat dialed in, we've got the base there and it's ready to start actually finishing out, but all of the supports there, all of the main components are there, all the holes are cut. Went ahead and threw the seat in. And honestly, it gives us so much room in here. I am genuinely pleased with how much room we have to sit down and hang out when this is a rear seat slash sofa and the kitchen's here. We've got plenty of room. I'm not cramped at all. And when it folds out into a bed, it's not as bad as you might expect. Of course, it moves further forward, but we've still got enough room to move in and out. And with the top popped, I think it won't feel super cramped. But it's time to move on to one of the parts I've been most excited about on this build, and that's power, which is why we've got this Renogy Mini Core 300 amp hour battery. This thing is awesome. It's a lithium-based battery. It punches a ton of power for a small size. It doesn't weigh near as much as a lead acid. And with 300 amp hours of power, we will have no issue with our induction top, any kind of heating we want, any kind of lighting we want, and plenty more. So let's see if we can get this thing stuffed under the seat, because that's been my plan, but I don't know for sure that it's gonna fit there. Having such a small footprint is going to be a huge benefit with trying to place this battery. If you've ever built a camper van, a camper, or even an overland rig, you know that placing a battery is extremely tough. And it's got so much potential power here. We've got enough to power this cooktop on high for 4 hours straight with no supplemental charging. So that's gonna be more than we'll ever need. We're never gonna be cooking on high for 4 hours straight. Like I said, this cooktop's never gonna be on for more than 20 minutes at a time. So let's get this thing stuffed under here and make sure the seat still functions as a seat in a bed while everything's in there. Look at that. So it's stored down there. Fits perfectly under the seat. We have room for all our solar chargers, our engine charging so we can have it charge off of the engine, and any inverters we need so that we can power our 110 stove and have a couple 110 outlets in here. I got the Renogy battery pretty well mounted. I got some plywood under it to elevate it so that we could get it completely tucked into that corner, and I just couldn't wait to test it out. I don't have the final inverter for the Westie yet, but I pulled the inverter out of our Overland 4Runner so I could test out the cooktop, and I might as well run the lights off of it. So currently, the lights we're using are being run off of the Renogy and our inverter, which is just so cool in itself. We've got the entire system stuffed under the seat. We've got the inverter temporarily mounted, and we're gonna see if we can get some water boiling completely off-grid. That'd be pretty cool. Well, I mean, I say that as I'm sitting in my lit shop, but this thing will be powering itself, which is the really cool part. This is the temporary setup we've got going. It's just our 1,000 watt inverter. We're gonna be going with a 3,000 watt inverter when we're actually done with this thing. But like I said, that's just our overlanding inverter because we needed something to be able to test it out. There's a little indicator that's got 7 bars on it. We're at 5 out of 7 with our induction cooker going. and I already feel heat out of this. The water is almost too hot to touch already. I'm stoked. I really can't wait to get this thing out and camping. We just this last weekend took an overnight trip, and I was thinking how much cooler it would have been in the Westie. Look at that. We've got water boiling. It's freaking cool. I'm so pumped about this. I cannot wait to get this van on the road again. This thing is looking great. We got it outside so we could pop the top, stand up, and actually experience the kitchen as it's going to be. I'm loving it. This is awesome. We've got everything except for the drawer made, which is gonna go there. But this feels so good. The interior looks great now that we've got it out. And now that I can stand up and really experience the kitchen and countertop for what it's gonna be, we've got so much room in here. It feels amazing after using the cooktop and having no issues with overheating or getting the wood hot. The sink's got plenty of room. This is gonna be absolutely awesome when it's done. I can't wait. We got really good progress done. We've got the main bones of the kitchen in. We've got doors and drawers and shelves all mocked up. And now we gotta go into staining and painting and getting everything looking good. We're gonna be completely redoing the sofa section / bed section, new foam, new upholstery, new facing on the cabinets. I want it to feel brand new in here. And we just ordered a very important, very big part for this, and I'm so excited. We're not gonna get to see it for probably 4 to 6 weeks, 8 weeks maybe. It's gonna be a long time before we actually get to reap this one, but I am so freaking excited for what I've got planned for this van. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. You should stick around. It's gonna be worth it. And thank you for watching. Let me know what you think of the van. My favorite part is the flush mounted counter appliances. It opens up the space in here and it makes it feel super modern considering this thing is 55 years old and this is an induction cooktop.